Welcome, folks. I'm Jabby Kuwait, joined by Charkirk.
What's up?
We're looking at a new Rockstars video, Thor Love Thunder, deleted scenes and director's cut explained. So if you guys are joining us for the first time, thanks so much for being here. Hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, vote the sucker up, let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. While you're subscribing and upvoting, subscribe to New Rockstars. There's a link in the description below if you want to click on that link, give the original video an upvote, and subscribe to them from there. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Thor Love Thunder populates the MCU with a wider mix of oddballs, but leaves a few seats unoccupied at the orgy. For those feeling like that ampersand between the Love and the Thunder originally had a lot more room for, say, another half hour of Gorr butchering more gods, you ain't wrong. We are learning more and more of deleted scenes and rejected concepts, fully removed sequences, and now with increasing calls for a director's cut to be released. I'm gonna break down everything we know that was left out of this movie and what we've learned about this rumored director's cut.
Wow. So, okay, yesterday, Achar and I saw a video from 3C Films talking about why the visual effects might not look 100% all the time and whatnot. I don't want to reiterate everything he said. You guys can check out his video. I thought it was very thorough and informative. But this right here is just more money. There's a director's cut coming of No Way Home, I believe, in September.
Yeah, like the more fun version or something like that.
And so this is just another, I like this gimmick. You go back to the theater again and watch a new version of the film you already saw, and it's a fresh version of the story, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, they did it with the Snyder Cut, right? Where they're like, all the fans are like, release the Snyder Cut. You know, this could be following in the same vein.
For being a god butcher, we don't actually see Gorr murder that many gods. Excuse me, this god butcher will be butchering some gods.
Exactly, thank you.
Is anyone there?
I really hate that man.
The only one we see Gorr kill is Rapu in the opening scene. And then off screen, he kills Falagar. He tries to kill Sif, but leaves her behind, I guess, to send a message. That Guardian's distress call map mentions over 1,000 other kills, including 3 corpses hanging from hooks from Isad Ribik's comics art, the head of another god, the corpse of another. We also know from King Yakan's line that Gorr killed the gods of the Indigarians as well. But it has now been confirmed from Christian Bale and Taika Waititi that they did shoot several Gorr murder scenes. Christian Bale recently being quoted saying that they left gold on the cutting room floor. Really, really creepy stuff. But we know this would have included at least one scene with Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok, Peter Dinklage as Eitri from Infinity War, and Lena Headey as an unspecified goddess.
She was supposedly paid $7 million for a scene that was dropped.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Disney has that type of money.
In large part, some of these scenes were deleted because it had to do with the visual effects not being able to be finished in time. This is me pulling from 3C Films, the video I watched the other day that I mentioned earlier. It has a lot to do with ideas not being finalized and being, revised and revised and revised. And it wasn't giving the effects artist enough time to give you a final thing that's good for theatrical, for public consumption.
And we did see a skeleton of some giant creature that I speculated might have been part of Eitri's race, but this skeleton seems like it's been dead for years, maybe left up, chained for decades. And since Gorr has really been on this slaughter recently, it doesn't seem like it was a recent kill. I guess it could have been one of Thanos' victims since he killed the other Nidavelirian dwarves. I'm just not sure. But killing off the Grandmaster might have closed too many doors in the MCU. He is considered an elder of the universe alongside his brother the Collector, Talia Tavan, whose fate remains unknown. The last we saw of him was a Reality Stone illusion cast by Thanos in Infinity War. I'm dying to know what goddess Lena Headey was going to be playing. She might have played the true forms of one of the statues we saw in the chamber, like Infinity or Death. Think about it. Cersei Lannister would make an amazing Mistress Death of the MCU. Now remember, when Thor brought Gorr's threat to Zeus's attention, Zeus said, that guy, he killed a couple of low-level gods, boo-hoo. So it confirms that Zeus knew about these victims but did not care. Now there was one Greek god that was credited in the movie's credits, whom I had some trouble spotting in this chamber. Actress Priscilla Doheny, credited as Artemis God. It's just kind of inconsistent which gods in the scene get credited and which don't, but Artemis being credited might indicate that Artemis had some bigger scene that was cut. She might have actually been one of those victims on the Guardian's star map screen. And since Artemis is Zeus's daughter, that would make Zeus even more apathetic and cruel, and further justify why Dionysus, another one of Zeus's kids, was such a suck-up. Now another major deleted scene was Jane Foster's power-up. The theatrical cut never shows the moment Jane transforms into the mighty Thor. We just see the broken pieces of Mjolnir stirring, and then we cut away, and Jane is just revealed later in the middle of the battle after some time has passed with her heroics at New Asgard. But we know the production shot this scene from set footage. Natalie Portman was on a crane and wire apparatus being raised off the ground while she was standing beside the Mjolnir pedestal, her body flailing around. Excluding this transition makes Jane's arrival mid-battle more of a surprise. I suppose more of a visually strategic reveal, keeping the viewer's eye focused just on the broken hammer first before inviting scrutiny on Jane's physique.
It still could have been a flashback. It still could have been something we see because it cuts back to her at some point. Yeah, right?
Yeah. No,
So-
you're right. It could be a flashback.
Yeah.
They could have done it that way because this was a really nice reveal, even though we knew that she was coming from the trailers. But
Yeah.
it was a cool reveal, especially for Thor as well. So we see her at the same time. Yeah, it was
But
nice.
it's also just possible that the production hit its limit with the VFX. Jane's transformation would have been a complex VFX shot, one specifically tricky to balance with the emotions of Jane's cancer-stricken body powering up into a cosmic god. Like, that kind of moment can't really be played for laughs, or even for a gross shock value the way characters hulking out look like, but it also can't really look cheap. They would have to have nailed this perfectly, and maybe at the end of the day, they just couldn't really pull it off, because Taika Waititi and Tessa Thompson joked in another video with Vanity Fair how they actually ran out of time to perfect Korg in another scene. And recently, you may have seen how some VFX artists who worked on other Marvel titles have begun to speak
Yep.
out how the studio is putting too much strain on them to fully master sequences just for the studio to change their minds last minute. So maybe in this case, Taika just scrapped the scene. It's just interesting to hear them talk about how much this film was figured out on the fly.
Weirdly, on these big movies, everything takes so much longer to shoot. The main thing on this was that we just kept experimenting with the story and trying to figure out like the best narrative. Have new dialogue, and we'd come back and we just wanted like one more angle, just someone explaining, oh, this is what the villain wants.
Yeah, and from that, it sounds like Gorr's plan changed in this movie.
That little thing, that throwaway thing he just
Yeah.
explained, that adds so much complexity to the post-production side. It's like,
Yeah.
we just want to add this one little line. Okay, that's multiple passes, multiple, instances of trying to perfect this render, this visual effect to make it good enough for public consumption.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how that could be frustrating. Taika Waititi's style is obviously a lot more improv heavy, and it's
Right.
like, we'll figure it out as we go along.
Flying
it's a
by the seat of his
collaboration.
pants.
Yeah, it's a collaboration between like the director and the actors. But it's hard when you're a VFX artist and you're like, oh, but please stop changing because
Yeah.
I just worked on this thing and now you want me to do a brand new thing?
Yeah, it can be quite frustrating, I
Yeah.
imagine.
In the theatrical cut, Gorr kidnaps the children of Asgard and takes them to the Shadow Realm. And then they end up with him in the Chamber of the Cosmic Entities. But we don't really see these kids on the Shadow Realm planet or really know why they're with Gorr when he approaches eternity. So I am guessing there was some other removed portion of the movie's second act in which Gorr either didn't kidnap the kids or really, I think is more likely, the dude just continued his killing spree. Because think about it, a serial killer like Gorr the God Butcher just makes more sense that we would spend the second act of that film with him killing higher and higher profile gods.
Yeah.
Every movie with a serial killer, whether it's Seven or The Dark Knight, that's what the killer does in the second act. He kills. Now, much of this town hall scene actually had to be reconfigured, it sounds like. Like, think about it, it's pretty weird we don't see where Jane goes anytime she blasts off. And Tessa Thompson even pointed out a weird take that Taika kept in without him realizing it.
See this shot when I go, it's because it used to be when he would wake up. That was my reaction. But you just left it there randomly. Doesn't make any sense, but I love it.
Now, moving on to some other rejected ideas, we learned from concept art commissioned to the Odd Studio of Australia that originally Russell Crowe was considered to play the devil instead of Zeus. Art shows him as a hooved devil holding the severed human foot that he was munching on. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be Mephisto. This isn't really what Mephisto looks like. Not all devils look the same. This just kind of looks like a general satanic figure. We also know from the trailer that there were a few deleted one-off takes, like that shot of Valkyrie licking gold blood off her sword. Really bummed that didn't make it in the movie.
I thought that was in the
yeah.
movie. That wasn't in the film?
Was it not? I don't think so.
I could have sworn I saw. Oh, I guess. All right. The whole thing that Erik Voss was explaining with the kids and whatnot, I thought that it still kind of worked for the movie. I thought that the kids were just a bait.
Yeah.
Nothing more. It was like just to get Thor over there with the axe.
Call the axe.
I love that shot, even if it does like freak me out. Don't lick blades. Taika also admitted in interviews that they planned to work in more Kate Bush music until Stranger Things stole their thunder with Running Up That Hill. Taika said he had a sequence in mind for Jane Foster set to Kate Bush's This Woman's Work. He also wanted to expand more on ABBA. This movie's flashback, of course, includes ABBA's Our Last Summer, but Taika said his idea was for Thor to love ABBA, seeing the Swedish band as a Viking band, and for there to even be a music video dance number set to ABBA. Now, when
my
Waititi
God.
was asked about releasing a director's cut or many of these deleted scenes, he told New Music Express that he's not that big on director's cuts and believes deleted scenes are deleted for a reason.
You know, I often think about this, about director's cuts.
I watch director's cuts from a lot of other directors. They suck. Director's cuts are not good. Directors need to be controlled sometimes. If I was to say like, oh, you got to watch my director's cut, it's 4.5 hours long. It's not good. 4.5 hours. There's a lot of cup of tea breaks in there. You don't even have to pause it. My cut would probably have a few more jokes. Or there might be a couple of little deleted scenes. A scene is deleted because it's not good enough to be in the film. It doesn't help the movie.
An interesting hot take. I mean, I hear Waititi that deleted scenes are deleted for a reason. They often would not make the movie better at all. But I just cannot agree with the guy when it comes to the director's cuts of movies like the Lord of the Rings trilogy or Blade Runner or Aliens.
It depends. It just depends. There are scenes in Lord of the Rings where it's like, it would have been fine without that. We could have done with a little bit less of the Shire. Like, there are instances where it's just a little bit self-aggrandizing. You know?
Yeah, sometimes it can be...
masturbatory.
Yeah, whatever.
I said self-aggrandizing. Is that the wrong word?
Yeah, that's the wrong word.
Self-indulging.
That's the word I was looking for, yeah.
Okay. There are instances where the director's cut improves on the film. I think Dark City was one of those movies because they took out some opening monologue that gave away too much in the film that the studio felt like it needed.
Right. Or Batman versus Superman.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
But Blade Runner is a great example of learn to let go because there's like 18 director's cuts. There's like different... Seriously, there's like so many different cuts of that movie because it kept getting revised. And George Lucas did the same thing to Star Wars. It's like, yo, learn to leave it alone.
Right.
Listen to Spielberg. It's abandoned at a certain point. Just abandon it, move on.
There's just too many examples of great director's cuts out there to say that they generally suck. Are you crazy? But then again, I am also someone who just loves to learn everything about how the sausage gets made. To me, learning all the creative sacrifices made in movies and all the awkward first drafts that they went through just make me appreciate the creative process even more. I like to demythologize filmmakers. They're not gods. They're just mortals like us. Artists struggling through this process, having to make impossible decisions. And the more I know about the jobs, the more I respect them as artists. Also, I love sausage. Up in Sinclair's jungle may have grossed you out, but for me, those chunks of Lithuanian meat packers who fell in the vat taste so good.
I don't know that reference, but I mean, I think there is something to be said in terms of what Taika Waititi was saying. Oftentimes, we've watched things that are very long and we've gone, yeah, it feels like someone should have come in and just kind of held the director back a little bit because you can get a little bit self-indulgent as an artist, and it's important to remember the thing as a whole and the end product rather than what you're attached to.
Just like everybody is different, everyone has a different, slightly different personality, everyone has a different perspective and opinion. Movies are different just as well, and not every film's director's cut is a worse version of the movie. And I think that Multiverse of Madness is a great example of something where I need to see a director's cut even if it's worse, because it felt like that was so truncated that was such a truncated version of the story.
Yeah.
And Thor Love and Thunder, to a certain degree, is the same thing. We've got a fucking fly in here. So Thor Love and Thunder is the same thing where it's like, it feels like stuff was just removed. You can feel it. And it feels like it could be improved upon with a second pass, with more, story footage, seeing more of Gorr the God Butcher.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be great.
Seeing more of Gorr the God Butcher, and maybe even seeing that scene where Jane gets her powers. Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm Jabby Kawai. This is
Achara Kirk.
Peace out.